They ripped us off like no country's ever been ripped off in history.
With Trump's tariff wars set to intensify, Goldman Sachs says that it sees a 35% chance of a recession in the next 12 months. This is significantly higher than their 20% chance prediction previously. The Wall Street Bank has also increased their inflation estimate, slashed their 2025 GDP forecast to just 1%, and bumped up its year-end unemployment rate outlook to 4.5%. As per the bank's report, they blame the sharp recent deterioration in household and business confidence, and statements from White House officials indicating greater willingness to tolerate near-term economic weakness in pursuit of these policies. Basically, the fact that Trump is okay with some near-term pain to fulfill his long-term goals, something which has been quite open about. But while Goldman Sachs still expects the US economy to avoid an excessive downturn, many others are pretty confident that an economic dip is coming, and coming soon. Moody's chief economist Mark Zandi has raised his recession odds to a whopping 40%, up from just 15% he predicted earlier.
When you have somebody who's very keen on being known as a disruptor and very keen on unpredictability, what that inevitably leads to is a huge increase in uncertainty in the global economy. And the one thing that accompanies uncertainty is that investment intentions in businesses go down. So with the increase in uncertainty, business spending is bound to fall, both in the United States and in other countries around the world. And given that investment is the really key element in the growth story, that, I'm afraid, usually leads towards a recession.
The risks of a potential recession, unfortunately, are rising. Economic uncertainty is greater, and this is the type of environment in which businesses and households can pull back on investment decisions and consumption. And once those dynamics get started, there can become deleveraging, which can become I think rather difficult to stop.
I would suspect that the recession is going to be the worst in my lifetime because it's been so long since we've had a very serious recession in the U.S. And it's probably going to be very bad because we haven't had a very bad recession in a very long time. So now I don't like it, but we're overdue and we're going to have a serious recession.
While most economists still aren't anticipating an actual recession in technical terms in the coming year, they do say the chances of an economic contraction has increased. Market watchers and economists are particularly dreading a stagflation, which is when a slowdown in growth happens at a time when inflation is accelerating. And that is what most forecasts do seem to be pointing at. What seems to have suddenly rattled markets and economists in the last few weeks especially is that while Trump did promise to use tariffs aggressively during his campaign, everyone has been caught off guard by just how aggressively he's kept that promise. And on the 31st of March, he even dismissed reports that the tariffs would affect a handful of countries. He wants to start with all countries, and then see what happens. This is among what led Goldman Sachs to increase the likelihood of a recession. Higher tariffs are likely to boost the consumer crisis, they wrote, noting that higher prices will eat into inflation-adjusted income. So businesses, who are unsure of Trump's next move, may be inclined to put investment decisions on hold. And this would weigh on growth. Also, consumer confidence has now started to plunge, as per the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Survey. The highest percentage of Americans are expecting unemployment to rise since the Great Recession in 2008. Inflation expectations have hit 32-year highs. Goldman Sachs says that, while sentiment has been a poor predictor over activity over the last few years, we are less dismissive of the recent decline because economic fundamentals are not as strong as in prior years. Meanwhile, amid fears of a recession, Trump's approval ratings have also started to fall. As per a latest Harvard study, Trump's approval rating dropped on more than half a dozen issues including economy and foreign affairs, though it remained high on immigration. So with at least a mild form of stagflation now a real possibility as tariffs hit business sentiment and add to inflationary pressures, it's uncertain times not just for America but the whole world. We'll all have greater clarity on the issue once Trump actually announces his global tariff policies. We'll keep tracking that development. You stay tuned to Mint.